Jim Adams, who's our next speaker, is running for executive counselor. He's very well known for being the chairman of Granite State Taxpayers, which is the most broad-based tax watch organization in the state of New Hampshire. And they have a pretty broad agenda. They really keep an eye on what's going on with the state budget and how money is being disposed of, which is, I suppose, one way you could look at it. Some of it is being disposed of.
Don't worry, Jim, it's not going
But they tend to stay on top of it. He started saving taxpayers loads of money long before he became chairman, and could certainly apply the state School City Executive Council position, which deals with state contracts. So I'd like you to welcome Jim Adams.
Good beers and what you want to do. Oh, well, you have to go for yourself then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, folks. I'm a lifelong New Hampshire resident. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I am a member of the NRA, and I firmly believe in the Constitution of the United States. I think the Second Amendment, I think old Moses, what was it, Ben-Hur Moses said it best. We need the Second Amendment, strong, not tampered with. And Mr. Pappas, the president, sitting counselor, he's anti-guns. He's all for more restrictions and everything else. Unfortunately, the man is a rubber stamp. But I hate to tell you about me. I'm going to badmouth him. I just want you to know more about me. And I believe in small government. I believe in low spending, and that equals low tax. And I started after I got out of the Navy. I was a letter carrier in Manchester, New Hampshire for 10 years. And during that period, I went to school nights, getting my degree at Southern New Hampshire University, working during the day, going there at night. And became the first person in the history of the Postal Service to go from that position to Chief of Staff, 3 Postmaster Generals, 850,000 back in mind, $71 billion a year budget, and tremendous executive overreach. My executive experience went from the White House to the State Department, all of these other issues that we needed to deal with every day. And a lot of people say, well, gee, I brag about that, they're not doing that well. Well, let me tell you about your government that the other speakers, that both Frank and Jim alluded to. Since 1973, the ratepayers of the
Not very well.
the ones who pay the freight. The federal government has taken $150 billion with a B, just like they have Social Security. The only difference is they've taken the money out of the service. And in Social Security, all you've got is a bunch of IOUs in there. And the bottom line is that folks, they were doing quite, and I continue to say, the period that I was there, they were doing outstanding, because after I left Washington, I came back home and I was in charge of New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont, 9,000 employees, $1 billion a year budget, just under 2 million customers. We did an outstanding job of those folks, and I'm very proud of that period. And I think it's important to just let you know that that's where a lot of the experience came from. We saved, during that period of time, $13 billion to pay off a huge debt, and saved the ratepayers through cost avoidance $14 billion. And as Emily mentioned, when I was fortunate enough to become the chairman of the Granite State Taxpayers, we dig into all of the minutiae as to what's going on up at the State House. And one question I get when I'm here is people say, well, what exactly does the Executive Council do? Anybody who has read the papers the last couple of months relative to the state liquor store warehouse, if you've read about that debacle, that is exactly why there is an Executive Council. Now, I'm not telling stories out of school, but a state senator by the name of Maggie Hassan, in 2009, said that because of the business practices of the State Liquor Commission, they need to be taken out from under the supervision of the Executive Council. So what do? They immediately go to bid this brand new warehouse. And this thing goes out for bid. It's a $200 million warehouse. And they skunked it all up. And I think the Attorney General's office was involved as well. They hired an outside attorney to help the 5 Attorney General office employees that were supposed to oversee this entire contract. He signed a contract for $10,000, which is just under the Executive Council's purview. The first 3 weeks, he submits a bill for $40,000. That should immediately have gone before but it's the Attorney General. They didn't do it. Right now, that lawyer is due to make $1.1 million with no oversight whatsoever. That's why the executive council is there. And and his job was to oversee to make sure the bids were right. Well, I know a lot about bids, and when you call one of the non-successful bidders and say, you know, if you move your bid around a little bit, we can give it to you. They've already paid $2.5 million court fees for the fellow who had it before, and right now they've got a $50 million potential liability hanging over their heads, and it's because the executive committee and the executive council was not involved. And that is the issue. They do they take care of all of the appointments. For example, the judgeships, the commissioners, the directors, all of the people who want to be officers in the state of New Hampshire have to come before the executive council. And that's where you vet them, because a lot of folks will say, well, how does the executive council cut spending in the state? Well, if you've got a commissioner that thinks that we need to have another 3,000 or 4,000 people working in health and human services, he or she will not get my vote. I think that we need to take back up, look at that, and use our funds very good judicially, because this is taxpayers' money. I also believe that we cannot society alone. We have to help them, but we cannot do this faster. We cannot spend more money faster than the taxpayers can pay for it. Government cannot grow that fast. And that's what's going on right now. We have, at the federal level and the state level, all they want to do is grow government. They want to do more and more things. The train, I get a real big kick out of the train. The sitting council, Pappas, wants to put the train in from Concord to Boston. $300 million, and the first thing they say, it's free money. It's not ours. The government's going to give it to us. Well, hello, how did that money get there in the first place? But that's okay, and it's going to cost the state, if they do it, $8 to $11 million a year to maintain it. Whether you ever sit on that train or you don't. What I want to do is to continue to lower the business tax, work real hard on lowering our energy costs, and keep those good jobs that all these folks are going to Massachusetts for. Let's move them back up here. That's what I believe. I believe that we need to also have choice for our parents over their students' education. Wouldn't that be amazing to let the parents decide what they want to do? That's, I firmly believe it. And I think getting back to the issue of the train and the taxes, I would, if I were, some people asked me the other day, they said, well, what does the Executive Council have to do with energy prices in the state of New Hampshire? They approve the members on the PUC. And the Postal Rate Commission is going, the Public Rate Commission is going to decide here pretty soon that the $400 million that we invested in the scrubber, in the Bowl plant, they're not going to need it anymore because they're going to go for gas. But they have a $400 million liability. They want to have that taken care of to help their ratepayers. Their stockholders. And I want to know, what are they going to do to help the ratepayers? You folks are the ones, we always do. We're going to get it right here with the highest electric bills in the United States. And no business on the planet is going to come here unless we start lowering those things. So all of these folks come through the Executive Council, and that's where it can be changed. And if I am fortunate enough to get your support, I guarantee you that I will be there every day working for 263,000 people, not a handful of special interests. Because, let's face it, the business with the most recent issue that went before the Executive Council, Planned Parenthood, Mr. Van Husten was the one, the former shaper behind that. He just got their complete support. Isn't that a surprise? They're backing him 100%. That's great. But I just think that it's very, very important that everyone realizes that the Executive Council is the last stop for the taxpayers. We are the people who can say, no, we don't need 14 people to be contracted into Health and Human Services when we've already got 20 people we can't find out what they do with it. So that's the type of oversight that I'm familiar with. That's the type of oversight that I do. And that's what I would do as your executive counselor. Appreciate your support on the 13th. And thank you very much for your time.
Croc TV.